Hello and welcome to Fisk the Card Game tutorial on character specials. So, each character has unique specials at the bottom of the card. Fox here has two specials, one of each type. There are two major types, defensive specials and offensive specials. Defensive are on black and are played during a defensive phase, and offensive are on white and played during an offensive phase. So, within those two major types, there are three different varieties of character specials. There are the normal one-time use only specials, which Fox has. So during the game, she will have to decide which one of these specials she'd like to use. So she'll either play Scout as her defensive special or Three Sabers as her offensive. And once she uses them, she'll put a scoring pip on her health card to show that it has been used. So again, one-time use only specials used only once per battle, per character. The second type of special is the passive type, and Ink here from the Grift has two different passive specials. Again, they are black, so they are usually done in defense. Her passive specials are shown with a little passive in parentheses after the name of the special. Passive specials are in play all the time, so there is no one-time use only. Whatever is passive is always in effect. Black blood here for Ink means that Ink's blood is toxic to any would-be feeders. Anyone who feeds on Ink will become sick and lose -10 health instantly. So that is valid during the entire game. So anybody that tries to feed on Ink will get -10 health damage. So these are always in play. They don't cost her anything. There are situations like Shift here, who has a passive offensive special that allows him to rearrange some of the die. This is always in play, but he also has an ordinary special here, which he will use, and again, if he uses it, it will become tapped. But the passive will remain in play, even though he's already used this other special, or even though he's used another special, that special will always be in play. So passive, there's nothing you can do to circumvent them. They are always in play for that character. They do not get exhausted. The third type of special is a multi-special. I'm going to put those over there. Witch here has a multi-special called Blood Magic. Witch uses her own blood to gain stronger attacks. It is -3 health, but it gains her 1 die extra for any strike she plays. Limit 1 per strike. So in other words, she can get an extra die per strike, but every extra die she gets will cost her -3 in health. There's another character that has a multi here, Rapture. Hers are in defense. It is multi-use. Rapture takes flight. All strikes are available, but using her wings causes Rapture great pain. So -5 health per strike avoided. So in other words, if she has really strong strikes coming against her, she can evade them by using her wings, but her wings cause her pain. So again, there's a cost associated with using this. But like the passive, they are always in play. So she can choose to use these whenever she wants. It does not require any tapping on the card. So if Witch was to use Deathmark here, then, I'm sorry, she would, the appropriate card here, she would tap her special, so she wouldn't be able to use Deathmark again. But her multi-use is still in play and always will be, just like a passive. She doesn't have to tap her special when using a passive or a multi. So those are the three varieties and the two major types of specials. So the other thing to keep in mind is that some specials require other characters to be on the same team at the same time. Grima here has a special offensive special here called Family Leadership. And it says, if in play, Grima can instruct Null or Ripa to deliver a strike chain in tandem with hers without costing them an offensive phase. So, if she's on the same team with Null or Ripa here, which are her younger brother and younger sister, she will use her special, and one of them can use a strike chain simultaneously with hers, but it requires them to be on the team. If they're not on the team, if she has Leora on her team, that special cannot be played because it requires one of her siblings. So that is a good thing to pay attention to. We also have an example of a character having a passive special that requires another character to be on their team. Iron Sight is Hanzo's personal bodyguard, and so whenever they're on the team together, Hanzo's bodyguard comes into effect on Iron Sight. It is a passive, so it's always in play. Until wounded, Iron Sight utilizes his methods of aversion to cut all damage dealt to Hanzo in half automatically. So as long as Iron Sight is on the team with Hanzo and is alive and unwounded, any damage aimed at Hanzo will automatically be halved. So it's very, again, a good thing to pay attention to the characters and how you pair them up. Lastly, there are cannon fodder cards that I wanted to show you here. And the cannon fodder cards are a unique type of card. The cannon fodder cards are basically multiple characters in one card. In this case, it's the Griff SWAT. So this is kind of the nameless rabble of victims. That's why they're called cannon fodder cards. Each character here, there's 4 characters in a Griff SWAT team, and each character will have 40 health. So in other words, if you use, if you use the health card here, then this side is one character, and when one character dies, you'll place a pip on there to show that you have 3 remaining characters. Then you'll flip it over and do 40 again, and once that one dies, you'll place another one, and so on and so forth. So they actually get a total of 160 health, but it's 40 health per character. The trade-off is that cannon fodder cards do not have the ability to block, and they also have very, very weak strike ability, but they do have large chains, so when all of them are alive, they can chain 2, 2, 2, and 2 together. So they can make strike chains of 8 cards while all of them are alive. As soon as one of them is dead, they then get 6, because that 2, it's 2 per character. So when there's only 3 characters, they get 6 cards of playing a strike chain. And then when the 2 are dead, then it's 4. And when all 3 are dead, there's only 1 guy left, and he only gets a strike chain of 2. But his special, the Griff SWAT team special, they can be sacrificed at any time and be used as armor. So if they're down to the last guy, he's pretty useless. He only gets 2 strikes in a chain, and he only gets 1 die per strike. So anytime before he dies, you, as the player, can say, I'm going to sacrifice this SWAT team and use it as armor. So it then becomes armor. You can equip it to another character, say Shift here, and now it acts just like the normal armor in the game, where you would get 2 die to roll and deduct that from incoming attacks. So that is a Griff special. The Brood is another cannon fodder card. Their special is that every time one of these 4 characters dies, it will give a Blood Fawn a chance to feed, a vampire on the team a chance to feed and get 10 health. So there's potentially a plus 10 for 4 times. Another thing about cannon fodder cards is that they are feeding targets, which means they can be fed on or bloodlet at any time and don't require being wounded. The last cannon fodder card is the Spec Ops team, and instead of 4, there's actually only 2 characters on here, but there is 1 special basically per character. So when they're both alive, the Ranger here protects the elite reconnaissance with his armor. So he automatically gets armor. As soon as that one is defeated, though, then the reconnaissance Ranger or soldier gets her special, which is she can choose strikes to evade in a chain. So this special is determined on how many characters are surviving on the card. Again, it's all detailed here. Those are defensive, so they're in black. Cannon fodder cards are a little bit more unique, so you'll want to definitely read over them and give them a good once over. All right, so the last thing to note about character specials is the difference between the defensive and the offensive specials. So Leora here, she has an offensive special that will send out one of her dogs, Edison here, to find something she can use as armor. So basically, when you play this, it allows you to go through the deck and equip an unequipped armor. So when she uses this in her offensive phase, it takes up that phase. So it is instead of a strike chain. So when you use this special, you will tap her just as you would when you're using a strike chain. But instead of the strike chain, you would do the special and you would show that the special has been tapped. That was the wrong color pip there. show that the special has been tapped. So it is played in lieu of a strike chain. Defensive specials, on the other hand, like Fox's here, Scout. Fox is an excellent scout. She can prevent one enemy non-passive special. The chosen special may not be played for the entirety of that battle. So when she uses this, she can use it basically any time that you're in a defensive phase, even if she's not the character being attacked. So let's say that somebody was attacking Leora. She could use this to circumvent a special. So let's say that bad luck here. She was using her Broken Mirror, which allows her to make a 7-card strike chain against Leora. Fox could then use her defensive special and make that special void. She could say, nope, you're not going to use that, and bad luck would have wasted her special. She'd never be able to use that again in the battle. And it would tap her special, so she wouldn't be able to use Jinx either. So that would be a great time to play that. And in Fox's case, you would put a pip on her special, and bad luck would have to put a pip on her special to show that is the special that has been voided by Fox's ability. Whereas if you look at Ripa's defensive special here, she has a defensive special called Perfect Evasion. Ripa's speed allows her to completely evade a strike chain, feeding, stun, or special against her without suffering its effects. So this one is a defensive special that can only be played for herself. So when somebody is attacking her, she can now use Perfect Evasion. I'm sorry, you wouldn't tap her because it's not offensive phase. You can now use Perfect Evasion to evade the incoming attack, and her card would then get a pip. Another case of a special that can be used for others is Noel and Grima here. Grima can use a defensive special called Skillful Retreat. Grima will stun all enemies and calls her allies back from the front lines. They may all be untapped and get plus 10 health each. So in other words, she can play this at any time, even when she's not being attacked in a defensive phase. And it will allow tapped, used enemies to be untapped, so she can have a fresh, that player can have a fresh striking order, and it will give them all 10 health. So she can play that anytime, whether she's being attacked or not in a defensive phase. Likewise, Noel has Noble Sacrifice, so if somebody has built a strike chain against Grima, he can use his special Noble Sacrifice. Noel will draw off damage from one enemy strike chain, saving the would-be target from harm. So if he does that, he will receive the damage. He's basically jumping in front of Grima and taking the damage, even though he wasn't attacked in that defensive phase. And again, whenever you use one of those, you'll place a scoring pip on the special, and that will be tapped. So in Grima's case, if she used Skillful Retreat, it would be tapped, and she would not be able to use Family Leadership because she's already chosen the one that she wanted to use. So that is basically the difference between an offensive and a defensive special, is when and how you play them. So that leaves me one final note here. Often there are 3 terms used in specials. Sagana here, she has Unblockable, which means that she could be stunned. It would stop this special from occurring that offensive phase, but she cannot be blocked. So if you don't have a stun, you can't play a block chain against her. Knothead here has an example of an Unstunnable. If he uses this special, it cannot be stunned, but it can be blocked. So you can still use a block chain against it, but it cannot be stunned to be stopped, that offensive phase. It's going to happen one way or another. And Sinful has an example of an Unstoppable special. So this special, when played, can neither be stunned nor blocked. So that one will occur, and its target will not be able to, well, like the targeted team will not be able to stop it in any way. So those 3 terms, whenever they pop up, Unblockable means it can be stunned, Unstunnable means it can be blocked, and Unstoppable means it can neither be stunned nor blocked. So that's it. Thank you very much. Please give us any questions. Leave them at spiderwolf.com through email or comments. We'll get back to you and answer those questions. And any question that you ask will help us make this a better and better game. So look for updated instructions and more tutorials. Thank you so much for your time. See you later.